Excellent. Good morning, my friends. MikesMMAPicks here with your Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown show. We are here for UFC 285, where we have two belts on the lines. Two belts on the line. The energy is rising. Anticipation is rising. 10 out of 14 fights here are currently lined to end inside the distance. You can feel the intensity in the air. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is fired up for this one. Now, we must contain ourselves. Remember, we're here to pick our spots. Let's go. 14 fights. First fight of the night, where we have a lightweight matchup between Esteban Ribovics, coming in as a plus 195 betting underdog, taking on Loic Radzhabov. Radzhabov, familiar face from PFL, has fought the likes of Chris Wade and others. Tough as nails. Both of these fighters have spent time in Florida getting ready for these matchups. Esteban Ribovics down at Kill Cliff, 11-0 record, I believe, with all wins coming inside the distance. Radzhabov, it appears as though he may have taken this fight on short notice, though looked great on the scales. Both of these fighters looked solid on the scales. By the way, if you noticed, Joe Rogan had the wrong cards when he was announcing these fighters at ceremonial weigh-ins. So this fight, though, the grappling of Radzhabov should be the difference maker. I know that Esteban is a finisher, a Argentinian fighter, but the Argentinian grapplers are not necessarily a threat here. There is the potential for a knockout, though. So if there is a knockout, I would suspect that Ribovics is going to be the one that is going to be landing the hellacious blow. But give me Radzhabov to win this fight. I think that he has more paths to victory. He's fought under the bright lights in the big cities, and he's ready for this. I'll be picking Radzhabov, but without much conviction. I do not have a play on this bout. Trying to control myself here because we have 14 fights, and this is a Jon Jones pay-per-view. Jon Jones versus Cyril Gane. He does not fight very often, and I may have been a harsh critic of Jon Jones, but one thing he does is put fannies in the seats. Next fight up, we've got Gamrot-Blackshear taking on Farid Basharat. You may be familiar with the Basharat brothers from their fights on the Contender Series as well as inside of the UFC Octagon. Farid Basharat making his debut here, coming in as a minus 460 betting favorite. And that appears to be somewhat of a wide line against Gamrot-Blackshear, who has the potential to grapple. He has a path to victory via back-taking ability. I don't trust Blackshear striking. We've seen Blackshear take shots to the body, really falter late in fights. Zalal was unlucky to have a draw in his last matchup, and Zalal, I believe, is not with the UFC promotion anymore. Blackshear, though, we've seen him now with a full camp here. He's taking on Basharat, who he reminds me of. Well, we know he has skills, but he still needs to grow into his body at only 25 years of age. There is room for growth. I don't recommend laying the minus 460 in this spot. You look at the fight doesn't go the distance prop. Let's see. It is expected to go to a decision at minus 142. You have Blackshear. I know he has a lot of submissions on his record, so these two may tangle on the mat. I believe that Basharat is the more well-rounded fighter, and he doesn't overexert himself. That's one thing that I enjoy about the Basharat fighters. The brothers are composed throughout the entirety of their bouts. And I think that is going to be the difference maker here. I'll be picking Farid Basharat. Let's get to some of the comments here. Good morning, Benji. Great to have you here this beautiful fight morning. Andy, excellent. Let's go. Patrick, happy John Jones fight day. Well, the man does not fight very often, but when he does, there's electricity in the air. You can feel it. And Rad, good morning. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Pleasure. Fresh, let's get it. Brad, good morning. Go get what's yours. That's one of the mottos here. We should get that on a t-shirt here shortly. Next up, we have a bout that has been rescheduled. Originally, Tabitha Ricci was in the minus 150s at one point when this the first iteration of this bout. She's taking on Jessica Penne, who's now 40 years of age. I was at Jessica Penne's fight last time out against Emily Ducote. Jessica Penne coming in as a plus 245 underdog here. She's a grappler who does not go away in fights. One thing that she does, she'll fight to the bitter end, and Ducote put a beating on the legs of Jessica Penne. I don't expect Tabitha Ricci to do that here. Ricci's not necessarily a striker. She doesn't necessarily throw leg kicks. She's going to look to be a little bulldozer out there, try to take Penne to the mat, and then assert her dominance via top control and the potential to lock up a submission. But we know that Jessica Penne is tough as nails. I'll be picking Tabitha Ricci to win via decision, but I don't think folks should be going out of their way to play Ricci at minus 295. It reminds me of we had Sergey Spivak taking on Derek Lewis, and that bout was rescheduled, and you saw the line just blow out. I believe I was on Spivak around minus 170 or so the first time that bout got matched up, and then they rebooked it, and Spivak was in the minus 200s plus. So in this fight, I mean, look what happened to the line. Ricci was minus 150. Now she's minus 295. That's a little ridiculous here. Penne is tough as nails, as I previously mentioned, and you cannot trust the judges here. What I recommend doing is take a look at fights that if you want to take one thing out of the equation, if there's a potential for a knockout, you do take the judges out of the equation. I don't see Ricci ending this fight via knockout, but I'll be picking her to win, and I will not be laying money on this fight. We've got Evan, good morning. Great to have you here on this beautiful Saturday fight morning. The coffee has been ingested, and we are ready to rumble. So let's continue down this card. We've got Mana Martinez taking on Gamrot-Turner. Saaiman coming in as a minus 260 betting favorite. This is a line that has been dropping. You saw Mana Martinez looked horrible on the scales. This is a person who's missed weight multiple times, someone who is going to try to land power strikes, and he did not perform well on his home turf in front of his home crowd, and now he's in Vegas. And Saaiman, I will say this about Saaiman, only 22 years of age, looks like he could be brittle. He does take punishment. He's always smiling out there. He will go for it. Martinez live to land a knockout at some point, but I didn't like what I saw from the scale. And Mana Martinez, Gamrot-Turner, the longer this fight goes, should become more live and has the potential to end this fight. I don't trust Martinez's gas tank. I don't trust his output. I mean, we've seen against Kennedy, he wasn't able to finish the job there, and Kennedy's in his 40s. By the way, Mario Bautista against Kennedy in the near future. You want to talk about a fight that's going to end up on the fridge? That is one right there. But in this spot, Gamrot-Turner, I'm going to be picking him to win via late knockout. I think that Martinez is going to end up faltering down the stretch with that horrific weight cut. You saw how drained he was within a pound of making weight, but wasn't able to pull it off. So I know Martinez is a heavier hitter and Gamrot-Saaiman is there to be hit, but I'm not going out of my way to back Martinez in this spot. The pick's going to be Gamrot-Saaiman. And if you are a live betting opportunist, this is a spot where keep your trigger finger ready and your keyboard near you so that you can enter a live betting opportunity the later this fight goes on Gamrot-Saaiman. Now, let's see. Chris, excellent. Great having you on board. Good morning, sir. We are fired up. We are ready to go. The energy is in the household here, and we have another bout where we have a prospect in Ian Garry taking on Kenan-Song. Kenan-Song coming in as a plus 510 underdog. We've seen he's been taken out of fights via losing his consciousness in the past, and Ian Garry hasn't necessarily won fights via knockout inside of the octagon, but this is a potential spot where he has the ability to finish Kenan-Song, newly minted parent. He's got the child with him wherever he goes, and he is growing into his frame. I believe he's only in his mid-20s, and I was a bit of a skeptic in regards to Ian Garry. He, from a defensive perspective, in regards to his striking, hasn't necessarily moved his head out of across from the center line, and almost a Todorovic-esque striking defense where he's leaning back and relying on his height advantage and his reach advantage to escape strikes that are headed this way. So Kenan-Song, if he's able to enter the pocket and land heavy shots, then Garry could potentially, if he took this opponent lightly, could be in problems, could be in a world of problems and hurt here. But I think the more likely outcome is this is a spot where Ian Garry shines and that he is able to end this fight via TKO. But also, you do not want to sleep on Ian Garry's ground game. He does have a ground game and is able to lock up submissions here. So look for Ian Garry inside the distance. And originally this line opened around minus 500 or so. Now it's been out all the way to minus 700. So folks have identified that Garry is in a pretty much a smash spot here. But as we know, there are no certainties in this game. So give me Ian Garry to win and to win so inside the distance. Now, here's another spot where we have a fascinating middleweight matchup between Julian Marquez against Marc-Andre-Barriault. You watch the weigh-ins. Both of these fighters matched up very well. They are similar fighters in some regards in that they tend to stand in front of their opponent and throw for power. You have Barriault coming in with a 2-inch reach advantage here. He is also, both of these fighters are within a year of each other in regards to their age. Both of these fighters have been smashed, and I mean smashed in their previous bouts. You saw the Fluffy Hernandez matchup where, let's be honest, Marc-Andre-Barriault was dog walked there. He was beaten to a bloody pulp, and I was concerned for his well-being moving forward, but now they have him also matched up here against a fighter who was annihilated by Gregory Rodriguez. Rodriguez was beating Julian Marquez from pillar to post, and this fight, both of these guys tough as nails, willing to take damage, and both of these fighters will move forward. So someone will likely end up getting finished here. I know how tough these guys are, but I think that this is going to be a spot where both of these fighters are going to meet in the center of the octagon. They are going to trade. They're going to see who is left standing. And although Barriault has the better cardio and I think that at this stage in the career, he's more invested in his future, whereas Julian Marquez was with James Krause at one point and now seems to be all over the map. I'm going to be leaning and picking Marc-Andre-Barriault, but I do not have enough conviction to lay my hard-earned money on him here because, again, that Fluffy Hernandez fight, he was beaten like I haven't seen somebody beaten in a long, long time. And I know he's tough. I'll be picking Marc-Andre-Barriault, but a bit of a dangerous spot here against Marquez, who is a power puncher. And he also has a submission game to speak of. And I know that Marc-Andre-Barriault was able to dispose of Jordan Wright via submission, but come on, imagine what Julian Marquez would do to Jordan Wright. So give me Marc-Andre-Barriault there. Next up, where we have a matchup at 125 pounds between Viviane Araujo and Amanda Ribas. Amanda Ribas coming in as the minus 120 betting favorite, and she is taking this fight at 125 pounds. I have a bit of a problem with that. I think that she should be down at 115 pounds. This is somebody who has been brutally knocked out. And in women's MMA, you don't want to see that happen. Viviane Araujo can throw for power. I know Araujo is getting up there in age. She, I believe, will be 37 years of age in the next few months. So she's no spring chicken. She is the underdog in this spot, and she can fight opponents tough. And that's one thing I like about Araujo. She was my dark horse of the division for a while, and then faltered and showed that down the stretch, she sometimes runs out of gas. Against Alexa Grasso, she was in that fight. The Andrea Lee fight, that's another bout where we saw her shine in that matchup. Here, Ribas, when she was fighting Chukagan, she didn't have to worry about big power coming back at her. I do worry about for Ribas if there are heavy strikes landed, Araujo can get off. Now, Amanda Ribas has a tremendous ground game. If she's able to extend Araujo, and if this fight ends up on the mat, I know that Araujo is, I believe, a black belt in jiu-jitsu also, but Ribas has a much more credentialed black belt. And I also have issues with Ribas leaving. She left ATT at one point, and I'm not 100% sold on Ribas. Both of these fighters, if Araujo was about a couple years younger, I would be more apt to lay a few units on her. But I'll be picking Araujo to win. I just have concerns regarding her age and also output down the stretch. That's something that is concerning here. But I'll be picking Viviane on Araujo, and I don't hate on folks who are laying money on her as an underdog here. Now, this is a phenomenal matchup where we have middleweights between a middleweight matchup between Du Plessis and Derek Brunson. Du Plessis coming in as the minus 215 betting favorite. I know that there are some books that he's gone out to minus 250 or so. And then you have Derek Brunson, who is a fighter who will fight until he is no longer conscious. He will leave it all out there. I shared a video earlier in the week of the grappling transitions between Brunson and Yoel Romero, a prime Yoel Romero. And Brunson, man, he held his own in that fight, and he typically holds his own in many fights until the wheels fall off, usually about the 7 or 8 minute mark. He ends up charging forward at opponents with his hands down. But let's be honest, on the other side of the fight, you've got Du Plessis, who also tends to charge at opponents with his hands down at times. Du Plessis, though, is a fighter who he's growing into his own. He shared an honest perspective that he did have a bit of imposter syndrome. For folks who don't know what that is, I recommend looking it up. He now is a believer in his abilities and believes that he really belongs and that he rightfully is here and climbing the ladder to the top of the middleweight division. Now, a few things. Du Plessis only has lost twice, right? He's been knocked out on the regional scene, South African fighter. He is going to be massive here inside of the octagon. He puts on a tremendous amount of weight. We saw against Darren Till. That fight could have been stopped earlier than it was, and I'm actually glad we got to see Du Plessis dig deep and come out on top in that fight. And here against Brunson might be able to get the wrestling going early, but Du Plessis, he will not be content being held on his back. He's going to be working. He also has a very dangerous guillotine. I know folks don't like to see anybody jumping guillotine. It seems to be a low percentage technique. I wouldn't be shocked to see Du Plessis try to jump guillotine at one point. He sacrifices himself and gives up positions in order to try to end the fight. And I think that he's going to try to do that here. The longer this fight goes, it's going to favor Du Plessis. I'll be picking Du Plessis. And I'll be honest, I really think that this is a spot for Du Plessis against Derek Brunson, who's 39 years old. He's been finished. He's been knocked out 6 times. And Brunson has been talking about retirement. That is a major concern here for me. I have concerns about Brunson's chin. I have concerns about Brunson's gas tank. I have concerns about Brunson's fight IQ. And Dricus Du Plessis is a force to be reckoned with. Granted, he makes mistakes. He looks like he's just gasping for air at the end of fights, but he's still there. He's still throwing. And I don't trust that Derek Brunson is going to be able to match him fire for fire at the end of this fight. I think that Du Plessis is going to be coming out on the other side of this one. And it's a shame because Derek Brunson has come so close so many times. And he's fought really hard and put it all out there. So give me Dricus Du Plessis. And by the way, at one point, Du Plessis could have been had under minus 200, I believe minus 196 or so. So give me Dricus there. And hard to back a weathered fighter with retirement on his mind. That is true. That is true. I see what folks see, though, that there is a wrestling edge for Brunson headed into this matchup, but I wouldn't be going out of my way to back Brunson here. Next up, you want to talk about fighters who've been chinned. Cody Garbrandt, and he's taking on Trevin Jones. Trevin Jones has been pulling a rabbit out of his hat a few times in his career. Trevin Jones plus 150 underdog. Cody Garbrandt minus 175 at the betting window. Cody Garbrandt taking this fight at 135 pounds. What a mess that was, having him drop down to 125 pounds to take on Kai Kara-France. Got chinned there, and man, it wouldn't surprise me if Garbrandt ended up filing some sort of lawsuit against TJ Dillashaw for beating the hell out of him on PEDs. I know it wasn't proven, but Garbrandt has, in my eyes, a case because Dillashaw ruined this guy's career. Dillashaw also ruined Renan Barão's career. And Dillashaw, I mean, the guy leaves the sport. USADA, not a fan here of TJ Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt. What's left of this fighter, really? I mean, I know he's a favorite here, and he can get clipped once and the lights go out, or he's on wobbly legs. Garbrandt, the more highly skilled fighter, yes. But as far as can we trust Garbrandt here? No way in hell can we trust Garbrandt to do anything inside of the octagon. I posted the clip of Pedro Munoz taking on Cody Garbrandt, and I think it was Danny Castillo in the corner of Garbrandt who's like, no, oh my God, no. And you look what happens there. Don't trade right hands. And Garbrandt, he got sucked into a firefight. Now, what is it going to take for Garbrandt to get sucked into a firefight here? Possibly 1 or 2 strikes. I don't trust Cody Garbrandt. I don't trust Trevin Jones either. Trevin Jones, very low volume. I'll be picking, I'm going to be picking Trevin Jones here, but not with much conviction. He's going to have to come out and just start swinging at Cody Garbrandt. And Garbrandt may end up trying to counter him, but you want Garbrandt to get caught up in an exchange. And that's where you make your money because he is going to see red and just go for it. And I don't trust, Garbrandt, is he going to try to come out here and wrestle and put Trevin Jones on his back? We've seen in the Font fight, he runs out of gas if he tries to grapple. And Trevin Jones is a black belt, right? He's a fighter who will fight hard for your money. So I'm going to be picking Trevin Jones, but I don't have a lot of conviction in that play. It's the problem here is Cody Garbrandt, and we know how washed he is. Man, it's sad. It's sad because now what is he going to do after this? I know Garbrandt, you see him, he's got bulldogs and or I don't know if they're some sort of pit bull, but they're great looking dogs that he has on Instagram, etc. But I'm not sure where he goes from here if he ends up losing this fight. It seems like the professional mixed martial arts career may be coming to an end for Cody Garbrandt. So give me Trevin Jones there. I know, yes, you're right. Trevin doesn't throw, but Trevin, if he wants to win this fight, should come out here throwing and draw Cody Garbrandt into a firefight. So give me Trevin Jones there. Now we have the debut of Bo Nickal taking on Jamie Pickett. Jamie Pickett plus 1,000 underdog. Bo Nickal minus 1,800 at the betting window. You look at unders in this spot. I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to play Bo Nickal at minus 1,800. I think that is a big mistake here. Jamie Pickett, what threat does he have here? I mean, he could try to land a surprise attack on Nickal as Nickal's trying to close the distance. Maybe a flying knee as Nickal tries to engage. And that's about it. That's about it. I don't see Bo Nickal getting gassed out here. I think that he's going to gun for the submission early, possibly get a knockout. We've seen Jamie Pickett seek ways out of fights in the past, and I believe that's going to happen in short order here. I played the under 2.5 here, tied up with fight doesn't go the distance on a couple of spots as free plays that we put out. One was tied with Brunson-Du Plessis, fight doesn't go the distance, and also Neal-Rakhmonov, Neal fight doesn't go the distance. With the under 2.5 here at between Bo Nickal and Jamie Pickett, I don't see this fight lasting very long. Pickett does not have the submission defense to protect himself in this spot, and Pickett's going to have to go for it. The other thing is this fight was rebooked. Why the hell are they rebooking this fight? It's a smash matchup. I know this is on the pay-per-view, so all eyes will be on this fight, but it should end rather quickly, and I'll be picking Bo Nickal to win. It's just a matter of how does he want to win this fight? Does he want to win it via submission or knockout? I don't know which route he's going to choose. I know that they're I believe minus 120 or so was submission at one point. I'd be picking Nickal to win via submission, but I wouldn't surprise me to see him win via knockout as well, inside the distance. Next up, we've got Matthias Gamrot taking on Jalen Turner. This is a bout where across the timeline, I'm seeing folks really take firm stances here. And I understand the perspective of looking at through a lens where Matthias Gamrot is able to grapple heavy early and often and just keep Turner on his back and stay safe and roll to a 15-minute victory here. This fight isn't expected to go to a decision, I believe, at minus 210 or so. Yep, minus 205. And you look at the massive reach advantage for Turner. Obviously, that is that's taken out of the equation once the fighters are on their back. So if Gamrot ends up on his back, that is a challenge for him. I know he also is in his mid-20s, so you watch out up and down his career. He's been knocked out brutally by a number of fighters. Vicente Luque did it. And Gamrot, I don't think Gamrot should stand and strike with Turner because Turner is a threat here. He's got those long punches, and Gamrot, a lot of my gut has been telling me to stay away from this fight, but all of the research I've done leads me to believe that Gamrot should win this fight. I do not have a great feeling about it, though. Gamrot, he was caught by Dariush, right? And he has been in spots where I know the level of competition is like ridiculous between Gamrot and Turner here. Gamrot's fought the much better fighters. He has a tremendous resume. He's got a tremendous grappling pedigree of his own. But something about this fight is leading me to believe that we are in for some fireworks. And I am expecting a shocker here. I think that Gamrot should be getting off. And you think about the win condition here. Turner could come out here and turn Gamrot's lights off really quickly if he's able to land some strikes. But the longer this fight goes, I suspect Gamrot will end up really causing Turner problems with his inability to make his way back to the feet. The Matt Frivola matchup, I know it was a while ago, but that did happen. And the tremendous growth we've seen from Turner hasn't necessarily come in the wrestling department. He is a threat, though. He's a threat to finish this fight anywhere. And I will pick Turner by knockout. I think that is a play that it's telling me, my gut is telling me that that's going to happen here. And I can't make a play on this fight. I know Gamrot is likely the side because he just has to. It's hard to play it safe though against such a dangerous striker in Turner. And Turner also has some opportunistic guillotines that are a problem. And Gamrot, it's a challenge for him. He's going to have to lock in the hooks and try to establish a body lock at some point also. Man, this is a tough one. I'm going to be picking Turner here, though. I think that that's a challenging spot on the card. Now, yes, Gamrot has gotten dropped by grapplers. That is true. You thought Gamrot lost to Arman. Yeah. Yep. Turner, I believe Turner is a live dog as well. Next up, where we have Shavkat-Rakhmonov taking on Geoff Neal. Geoff Neal missed weight by 4 pounds. Now, was this a strategic move on his part, or was this a result of him taking the bout after he had been injured? This is a fighter who was supposed to fight earlier this year against Rakhmonov and missed the opportunity because he suffered an undisclosed injury. We do not know what that injury was, but now here he shows up on the scale, missing weight by 4 pounds. Looked decent on the scale, even though he missed weight. And you have Rakhmonov, who cut all of the weight, made it to 171 pounds. Rakhmonov, 16 wins, all by way of finish. Very dangerous fighter. And what's dangerous about Rakhmonov, as I've continued to watch the tape and drill this down, is that his submission game is a real threat. His length, by the way, if you watch the weigh-ins here, both ceremonial and the press conferences as well, there's a massive discrepancy in size here. Rakhmonov is huge, and he has a reach advantage as well. And I understand why Geoff Neal, if this was a strategic move to miss weight on purpose in a opportunity to gain a competitive advantage, I understand you're giving up 30% of your purse. And also, how much does that win mean to you? That potential win, those 4 pounds could be a difference maker when you're trying to fight off submissions and you're trying to work your way back to your feet. As far as this fight hitting the mat, I do see Rakhmonov closing distance here. I know that Neal is tough to close distance on, and we are inside of the larger octagon. So Neal is a potential parlay buster of sorts here, but I have genuine concerns. The Neal Magny fight, that is a red flag for me, watching Geoff Neal falter in that spot. There have been many other spots where Neal has faltered, but I know he's coming off of a spectacular win against Vicente Luque. Rakhmonov, 28 years old, is a bit of an enigma. We must acknowledge that. The guy does not have a lot of fight time under his belt, and he is getting better every time out. It's not like he's fighting out of a random camp. He fights out of a great camp, and he keeps things under wrap. So we're not exactly sure. Also, his finishes, 8 by knockout, 8 by submission. So he's mixing things up. He's got submissions. He's got striking. I liked seeing when he was eating some jabs by Magny, he was egging him on. He was telling him, come on, let's go. You could tell there's a dog in here. The guy will smile back at you while he's getting hit. Does he want to test that chin against Jeff Neal? No, I don't think that's a good idea. There is the potential for Neal to try to land big leg kicks here, but or body kicks as well. But Rakhmonov, I think that he's going to come in, try to close distance, get the clinch going, take the fight to the mat, and then work his way to locking up a submission. And I have real concerns about Jeff Neal and his weight miss here. That needs to be mentioned. And also, the guy postponed the fight for months. So it's not like Neal was the one who was gaining some ground on Rakhmonov. He was recovering from an injury. So his team had time to game plan. I know Team Fortis MMA is a solid camp, and I'll be picking Rakhmonov to win, and I think that he's going to get a submission victory in this spot. I saw Rakhmonov by sub at plus 200 or so. I got to see where that line's at right now. But the pick is going to be Rakhmonov and to win via submission. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Jeff Neal try to use that competitive advantage of missing weight in his favor. Give me Rakhmonov to win by submission. Next up, where we have Valentina Shevchenko taking on Alexa Grasso. Alexa Grasso is sitting at plus 575. I had to make sure I got that right. So she's a massive underdog here, and she's riding, it looks like a 4-fight win streak, taking on Valentina Shevchenko, who, by the way, we must pause the podcast for a moment just to acknowledge the greatness of Valentina Shevchenko. I know that there is the potential for her to lose at some point. If and when she does, we should really acknowledge everything that she's done, going up a division to take on Amanda Nunes in a very, very competitive fights. Also taking on Joanna, former champion, and completely dominating her. And the reign that she's had at 125 pounds. Sometimes the champs, as we'll talk about John Jones in a minute, but sometimes the champs, they need some fire lit under them to get back to the drawing board and keep going. We've seen it with Anderson Silva. With Shevchenko, I think that the Taila Santos fight was the fight that really lit a fire under her. Now, I would not be shocked if she, if this was a turning of the tide here, if Shevchenko falters. She's going to be 35 years old in a few days. So it's not like she's in her prime, 28, 29, 30. This is somebody who's competed as a martial artist since they were a child. And over 30 years of martial arts to her credit. Now she's taking on Alexa Grasso, who's coming into her own, is a very confident fighter. I think she's going to be able to hold her own with Shevchenko, especially in the early rounds, in the first few minutes. And I think this is going to turn into a fairly competitive matchup. I am not going out of my way to parlay Shevchenko here. I think that she, although she is, in my eyes, the greatest women's mixed martial artist of all time, that this is another dangerous spot for her against Grasso, who is, it's not like she's defensively a liability. Her stand-up is solid. She does not necessarily have the kicking game, though. That's something that could be a big factor here. And that's why I'm going to be picking Shevchenko to win. And it would not surprise me. I saw a plus number at this fight going the distance. I think that this fight will go the distance. Alexa Grasso, she's tough as nails, and she is not going to go quietly into the night. So I suspect Shevchenko and Grasso are going to be fighting tooth and nail at certain spots, and I'll be picking Shevchenko to win via decision. Blanchfield will be the top spot. Okay, we'll see. We'll see what happens. 35-year-old Valentina. Yeah, she turns 35 in a few days, sir. Marcus. Good morning, Marcus. I saw you enjoyed a lovely dinner with some of our friends, Nickal-Pickett and others yesterday evening. So I hope you had a great time. And I look forward to enjoying a card somewhere on planet Earth with you shortly. You cannot see a former strawweight fighter beating the female GOAT. Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. That's why they make the fights. Grasso could potentially get smashed. I'm not going to go out of my way to pick Grasso here, but I think that it will be a competitive fight. Next up, let's talk about the main event of the evening, where we have heavyweight version of Jon Jones taking on Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane, it's amazing that Jon Jones cannot pronounce Ciryl Gane's name correctly. Plus 150 at the underdog, at the betting window for Ciryl Gane. Now, this fight, I'm just going to take a look at the odds right here, because I have seen recently the odds get wider and wider and wider here. It would not shock me, and I would not be shocked if Jon Jones ends up moving to minus 200 or so at the betting window. I see him at minus 185 at some books. Let's see, minus 170. Okay. So, and then you're on the other side of the fight, I'm seeing that it looks like Ciryl Gane right now plus 155 or so. This is a heavyweight matchup. This is a fight where Jon Jones has taken a few years off to try to put on some weight. And granted, he has had some legal troubles outside of the octagon. That must be mentioned as well. I have been one of Jon Jones' harshest critics through the years. I think that you never want to see wasted talent sit on the sidelines. You don't want to see talent wasted. He is an incredible talent, no doubt about it. He will go to extreme measures, do whatever it takes to gain a competitive advantage in many of his fights. We've seen him against Daniel Cormier and others. He will do whatever it takes. He does have a big grappling edge here, no doubt about it. But the problem here, and I've mentioned this and I've tweeted this throughout the lead up to this fight, is footwork is going to play a very important role in this bout. Ciryl Gane is the much quicker fighter. He's got quick feet. He is familiar with closing distance and staying evasive as well. That's the other thing. It's not just about closing distance. It's about staying evasive. Jon Jones is going to be coming after you looking for the takedowns. And the problem here with capping this fight is if and when Jon Jones lands a takedown, then there is the potential for him to ride Ciryl Gane out for extended periods of time and sway the outcome of this fight. And by establishing top position on Ciryl Gane, he's draining the gas tank of Gane. I think the longer this fight goes, that Jon Jones could potentially come to life. The problem here, though, is we're looking at a Jon Jones. Let's be real. We need to acknowledge this fact that he's coming in, adding an additional 30 or so pounds. He is now 3+ years older, and he hasn't fought under the bright lights at heavyweight. He wasn't necessarily the quickest fighter in the past, and I don't see his quickness improving at this level, at this stage in his career. And you look at the age of these fighters, Ciryl Gane is a few years younger. We know the holes in Ciryl Gane's game. That must be acknowledged as well. So, tough call. I have no play on this fight. I think that I've counted out Jon Jones in the past, and I've learned my lesson a few times. I'm not going out of my way to do it. I'll be watching this fight from a distance, and unless the number gets to plus 170, or I think that value obviously is right now on Ciryl Gane, no doubt about it. You have a proven heavyweight who can strike and can win decisions and can fight at range and is comfortable doing that. That's where he makes his bread and butter. So Ciryl Gane is going to be the pick here, but it's a matter of Jon Jones. I think Enfuego sent me a tweet about this, that it's almost like you're trying to fade Tom Brady even near the end of his career. He can still pull a rabbit out of his hat. And Jon Jones has proven that he is one of the best fighters of all time. Granted, he has had some help via supplements, and he has cheated on multiple times. So there's no way I can go out of my way to crown him as the GOAT. But I'll be picking Ciryl Gane here. I think that conventional wisdom and the question marks regarding Jon Jones' absence are a real cause for concern. So I'll be picking Ciryl Gane, and I think that he has the potential to win this fight via decision, or even you never know. I know Jones has a chin. He's been caught, but I don't see Gane knocking Jones out unless it's something maybe to the body. Man, I'll be picking Gane, but I am staying away from this fight for the time being. I think that there are real question marks, and it's hard if you're watching people break down this fight. How can you really have some level of conviction regarding a fighter who's been away for 3+ years? So interesting stuff. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. It looks like we've really picked things up here. I brought the intensity. I brought the energy today. We're up well over 100 units. 15% ROI this year. This is my sixth consecutive winning year, and we are kicking some ass. So let's continue doing this. And remember, before you take the advice of anybody or give them the time of day, look at their tracked betting record. There's no way you should be going around watching losers or people who are even close to losing and heeding their advice. Make sure that you do your due diligence and go get what's yours. So let's do this one fight at a time. Also, everything in moderation. So don't go out of your way to empty the clip. Don't risk 15, 20 plus units on a card unless you're willing to risk losing those. You have to think also your worst case scenario here too. So pick your spots, everything in moderation. Let's go. Let's do this. Go get what's yours. The time is now. Let's go. Let's go.